How's it going, everybody? This is RBT and welcome to another edition of Friday Questions and Answers. Very important news. Make sure you pay close attention to this. Starting next Friday, this series will be now uploaded on the RBT Sports channel. Have a good reason behind that, and I didn't even think much about that up until a couple weeks ago. Somebody asked on one of my videos, on one of these videos, if I was going to upload these videos on my main channel or my RBT Sports channel. And it got me to thinking, when it gets to football season, I'm going to be uploading a lot of videos on this channel. Now on the RBT Sports channel, it's just going to be previews and predictions. So I'm going to need to have more videos to upload on that channel, and I need to try to limit this channel as much as possible, and just having one more video a week on this channel will just crowd it even more. So what I'm going to do is every Friday be able to upload another fresh RBT questions and answers on the RBT Sports channel. So if you haven't already, very important, especially if you're a regular on this series, go subscribe to my RBT Sports channel, because next week it'll no longer be on this channel, it will be on the RBT Sports channel. So that's that. Without further ado, let's get into the questions. First question this week comes from Devin Atkinson. He asked, how will Brett Hundley and Marcus Mariota fare this year? Will either of them win the Heisman? I think both quarterbacks are poised for a great season. I think both of them have a really good shot to be drafted in the top 5 in this year's upcoming NFL draft. They had to come out last year. I think they both would have been top 10 quarterbacks. I think UCLA and Oregon right now are the front runners to win the Pac-12. And I think these two players are going to be a big part of that. I think it was really surprising that both these quarterbacks decided to stay for another year. They both were eligible last year to come out, but they're coming back. And that's really a sign of leadership and a sign that both quarterbacks really want to help their teams win the Pac-12, because Oregon and UCLA have not been able to do so in the past few years. UCLA has been obviously longer than Oregon in their Pac-12 title drought. But I think both quarterbacks are going to have great years, and I think it's going to be UCLA and Oregon fighting for that Pac-12 championship. Who will win? I'm not sure. Both teams are talented. Both teams bring back some good players on defense. Both teams have weapons aside from their quarterback, so it's going to be tough. I think this might be UCLA's year, but I also like to say that Oregon in the past couple of seasons have been hyped up to be one of the top teams in the country and fighting for a national championship. That's what they're supposed to be, and it hasn't really happened the past few years. And this year, it's been 5 or 6 years than I can remember a season that Oregon's just been kind of flying under the radar, and nobody's really picking them to win anything. I mean, everybody has them in the top 10, but nobody really is talking much about Oregon. So this could be the year that Oregon comes out and surprises some people and competes for a national championship. And to answer your second question, I do believe the Heisman is one out of one of these two guys. If I had to pick, I think Mariota, but we'll have to see. I don't think Jameis Winston wins it again. I think I answered that in a couple weeks ago in that question and answers. But I think it's going to be one of these guys. If I had to pick one, I'd probably say Mariota, like I said. But either guy, I believe, will have a chance to win the Heisman, definitely. Second question this week comes from X-Auburn. He asked, what is your opinion on weed? Legal? Illegal? If a player is caught, should they be suspended, kick off the team, etc.? Well, I mean, obviously this is a controversial topic, but I will answer it. Initially, I was definitely against the legalization of weed, but I think my point of view and my perspective on it's kind of changed now, because obviously it's legal in 2 states or 3 states now, and I think it's wrong that in certain parts of the country you can have weed and it's perfectly fine. But in this state of Alabama, state of Florida, if you get caught with a certain amount of weed, that's considered a felony. You can have years and years in prison. I believe if certain parts of the country have it legalized, that it shouldn't be, if it's going to be an offense in other states, don't have them being so drastic when you can go just a little bit across the country and be able to do it just fine. So it makes no sense to me that in one place it can be perfectly fine, and in the next place you can be serving all your life in jail just because you had a certain amount of marijuana. So I think it should be either illegal and nobody in the country should have it, or it should just be legal everywhere, because I think that's just fair. And I think everything in life should be as fair as possible. In terms of player suspension or getting kicked off the team for weed, I mean, rules are rules. You have to abide by them if you're underneath them, and this rule set down by the NCAA, by the team. So I mean, if they obviously break the rules, they should be punished for it. So I mean, even though it's legal in some states, I still think in that case, since they're rules passed down for a higher power, that still should remain the case. So they should serve suspensions and maybe being kicked off the team for multiple offenses of testing positive for marijuana. Question number 3 comes from Cole McDowell. He asked, who would you rather Bama start at quarterback this year? Not necessarily who do you think. By the way, love from Prattville, Alabama, and Roll Tide, my dude. Roll Tide to you as well. Question here. Your answer is, honestly, I just want whoever gives Alabama the best chance to win. And I think there's two ways to look at this. I think Jacob Coker is the better quarterback, has more talent, obviously, and I think he has the most potential out of the two quarterbacks. Now, Blake Sims, he has the leadership qualities. I think he has the backing of his teammates. I think no matter what you want to think about it, I think the players want Blake Sims to start. I mean, he's been a 5-year player here since his last season. He's not, I mean, you see players when they're buried down the depth chart, they don't think they're gonna have a chance. They end up transferring, but no, he's stuck it out. He's been a team player. He's helped the team in so many ways. So which player is gonna benefit more, the player with the more talent or the player that can rally his team together and provide more of a leadership role? So whatever Nick Saban decides is the case, I'm completely 100% for it. Blake Sims starts, I'll be perfectly happy because that was the case. They believed he gives his team the best chance to win, in the same way Jacob Coker. And yeah, I know you said who do you think it's going to be. I think it's going to be Jacob Coker eventually, but I mean, who knows? Who knows? Question number 4 comes from Mizzou Fanchan. He asked, what do you think of Matty Mock this season for Missouri? Sophomore slump or Chase Daniel remake? Funny that you mentioned that because the guy is built just like Chase Daniels, looks like just like Chase Daniels, has a similar skill set to Chase Daniels. So remake of Chase Daniels probably. But if you go and watch my SEC preview video, which is on my RBT Sports channel, which this series will be starting to be uploaded on, starting next week, I really do give good words for Matty Mock. I think he's a really good quarterback. I don't think Missouri takes a step down at all at the quarterback position this season. I know he played well last year in his starts for the injured James Franklin. At times, I believe it ended up starting 4 or 5 games. But I think Matty Mock is one of the best quarterbacks coming back in the SEC. He can run the football, he can throw the football. He's definitely a dual threat, and I think he's just going to progress into a very good quarterback. And although he already is, he'll get even better. I don't think he'll necessarily put up insane numbers this year because the threats that he has on the outside isn't necessarily what it could have been. I mean, Dorio Green Beckham's gone. But I still think he'll be solid, and I think he can lead Missouri to about 9 or 10 wins this year. Question number 5 comes from Mr. Awesome. He asks, who do you think is the best receiver in the SEC? I think Sammy Coates. That's what he says. I think it really comes down to 3 guys. I think it comes down to Marquez North of Tennessee, Amari Cooper of Alabama, and Sammy Coates of Auburn. Just because I'm an Alabama fan, I'm going to say Amari Cooper, but I really do think Sammy Coates is just as good, if not better, than Amari Cooper. I think it's really 1A, 1B Amari Cooper and Sammy Coates. And then Marquez North is back there. And Laquan Treadwell from Ole Miss is a really good receiver as well. And you got some other good receivers in the SEC. But I think it's those 3 guys and really everybody else. Question number 6 comes from Tristan Bowe. He asked, how do you feel about Ryan Fitzpatrick being the starting quarterback for the Titans? Well, Tristan, Ryan Fitzpatrick is not the starting quarterback for the Titans. He's now a quarterback for the Houston Texans. So I'm not sure if you meant Texans there or you meant asking how did I feel about him being the starting quarterback for the Titans last year when Jake Locker was hurt. But I guess I can say he was a good backup for the Titans. I think there was not many other backups in the NFL that could have played at the level he did. I mean, he still gave us a couple wins. I mean, he did have his screw-up games, but he did have his great plays throughout the year. But I think he'll be able to compete for that Texans starting quarterback job, but he is not the starting quarterback for the Titans, so I don't have enough emotion towards that question. Question number 7 comes from Adam Alt. He asks, do you think Tennessee can be a contender in the SEC East? This year, probably not, because if you go and watch my SEC preview and prediction video, get more insight, but they don't bring back a lot. I think they're getting more talented. I think Butch Jones is the best option they've had in the past 4, 5, 6 years. Ever since Philip Fulmer was fired, I think he's been the best coach they've had, and he's recruiting well. He's bringing in good talent. Justin Worley's coming back. I think he's going to have a big year. Marquez North, like I mentioned earlier, solid receiver. They have A.J. Johnson, one of the best linebackers, if not the best linebacker in the SEC on defense. But aside from that, they don't have much depth and experience coming back. I think they'll be better than last year, although they have a really tough schedule this year, so the win-loss difference might not be that drastic from last year to this year. But still, regardless, however many games they win or lose, I think they're a much better team than they were last year. Question number 8 comes from Gaming with Foul. He asked, Sammy Watkins with the Bills. I think Sammy Watkins is going to be a really, really good receiver with the Buffalo Bills. He really steps in for Stevie Johnson, so he kind of has really big, high expectations. But, I mean, he was the highest picked receiver in the draft, and I think he's going to play like it. I think in the next 5 years it's going to be a battle between Mike Evans and Sammy Watkins, as he was the best wide receiver in this past class. But regardless, I mean, I think obviously Sammy Watkins has a better quarterback to throw to him than Tampa Bay and Mike Evans has, and Mike Glennon. I don't know, that's kind of up for debate. EJ Manuel, Mike Glennon, they're both young and getting better, so we'll have to see. But he could have a better quarterback thrown to him than EJ Manuel, but I think he'll still put up the stats. He probably could put up better stats up elsewhere, but still, I think regardless, he's good enough to have a really good rookie season and have a shot to win the Rookie of the Year this year in the NFL. Question number 9 comes from Razorback Fan 1995, asking my opinions on the preseason top 25 poll for college football. And honestly, hadn't given a big look, so I'm going to look at it right now. From the start, I think Alabama's ranked too high. I never like Alabama being ranked in the top 5, or especially coming off a year losing a 3-year starter at quarterback. So I think that's too high. I think Oklahoma is too high. Even are getting 3 first-place votes this preseason. I think that's way too high. I think I've explained that before. I think Oklahoma's getting way too hyped. I mean, they could be a really good team this year if they can play. I mean, they could be a top 5 team, maybe the best team in the country, if they play like they did the last 2 games of last year when they beat Oklahoma State and absolutely demolished Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. But the games outside of that, I mean, they were just not good at all. They were very mediocre. And will they be able to have a season like, will this season be able to be like the last 2 games last year, or be a repeat of the first 10 games? So we'll have to see there. So I think they're ranked a little bit too high. I know Oregon's 4. So I know, like I said earlier, they're kind of flying under the radar. Even though they're 4, you still don't hear that much about them having a chance to win the playoff, win the national championship. I mean, that's a pretty high ranking, higher than I thought they were. But still, haven't heard that Oregon's going to go undefeated. Oregon's going to win the national championship from everybody out there, like it is just about every single year. So that's that. Auburn at 5, I guess that's a pretty good ranking. I might have them a little bit higher because, I mean, they're a championship loser being the case. But they bring back everybody from last year's team pretty much, so I don't see why they drop from 2 to 5. I like their ranking. I like Ohio State there. I think Baylor's ranking's pretty good. I think Michigan State should be a little bit higher than 8. I mean, I could see an argument for them being above Ohio State and UCLA, definitely with them beating Ohio State last year. I like their rankings there. I think LSU should be a little bit lower than 13. That's kind of cool. LSU number 13, Wisconsin number 14, playing week 1. That's going to be a heck of a game. And also, this brings me to something I want to talk about. I'm probably going to do individual game previews for the big matchups on my RBT Sports channel for the first week of college football. The big games like the LSU, Wisconsin, Ole Miss, Boise State, and those games. Might just do an individual video for those just in the near future, so I have some stuff to upload on this channel before the season actually starts. But that's probably the only time I do that throughout the season, aside from my regular weekly college football prediction videos where I predict all the games. And aside from that, it looks pretty good. I think Missouri should be in the top 25 above Washington. Washington lost Keith Price from last year. Texas in the top 25 is kind of, I don't know about that. Florida is just outside the top 25. But I mean, overall, it's a pretty solid list. No head scratchers, although I do think Alabama and Oklahoma should be lower. Auburn should be higher. Oregon should be a little bit higher. I think Michigan State should definitely be higher. But aside from that, I think it's pretty solid. Last question for this week's episode comes from Sawyer Rolla. He asked, how do you think Green Bay Packers will do with 1 elephant on offense and 1 elephant on defense? I don't know what that means. But I will say I think Green Bay is going to be a lot better this year. The Julius Peppers addition just absolutely wowed me. That defensive line is going to be so much better. They're going to be a lot more athletic on defense this year. That's something they really they're trying to transition into this year, just being more athletic defense as a whole. Aaron Rodgers and Eddie Lacy's back. They have a great wide receiver core, so I think Green Bay's in for a good season. And I actually saw something earlier where Green Bay is one of the top ranked teams in Madden. So that's a little tip there for you Madden players. That is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't already, and to leave a question in the comment section below and you'll be featured in next week's episode. And remember, big news. This series is moving to the RBT Sports channel after this upload. I hope you guys stick with me then. Go subscribe to the RBT Sports channel if you haven't already. And if you've missed my videos completely the past few weeks, I made two new channels. This one's gaming, RBT Sports channels for sports previews, coverage, all that jazz, and another one for fitness, that's Prove Them Wrong Fitness. You can find links to those in every single one of my videos. So go check that out. Subscribe to my channels if you haven't already. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a great week. I'll see you next Friday on the RBT Sports channel for the new launch of this series on the RBT Sports channel. Catch you guys next week. Have a great week.